All right. We're live. Dan Greenberg, Barstool Sports, first to the floor. I'm Jake Eisenberg. Celtics have won game one. 15 to go. 15 to go.
Listen, 1 down, 15 to go. Doesn't matter how it looks. You just got to find a way to secure it. So mission accomplished to open this off for sure.
Yeah, look, I think coming to the series, you know that it's going to be a rock fight. Like, you know the matchup is two of the best defenses in the NBA going head-to-head, and the Celtics just need to generate enough points, and the Magic probably can't keep up. And it doesn't feel fun to go through that experience when you can't generate points, you're having trouble with switches and physicality. But what ends up being kind of like, they covered the 12.5 point spread that it was by the time the game tipped. They did what they were supposed to do. There was maybe not exactly how you want to draw it up box score wise, but you'll take it.
Yeah, and this is sort of along the lines of the type of performance that I was trying to reference when we were trying to talk through, like, who would you rather play, the Hawks or the Magic? And I just felt that even though they have a much tougher defense, they can give you their best shot and not crack 90 points, right? So, we've watched enough Celtics playoff basketball to know there's going to be a 4 or 5 minute stretch where they just can't make a shot, right? The difference is when you play a team like Atlanta that maybe has a little bit more offensive firepower, those lulls can really hurt you. In this matchup, you saw, like, they scored 103 points and they won by 17. 3 of their 5 starters shot like 15 of 44 and 1 of 12 from 3, and they won by 17. The Magic as a team shot 37% from 3 and had nearly 60 points between their 2 best players, and they didn't crack 90 points. So I just always felt that even though the defense was tougher, your margin for error is greater, because even when the Magic are, firing on all cylinders, they still struggle to match your offensive ceiling. And I think is going to be the story of the series.
Yeah, and like trying to, give the Magic a chance, you're trying to talk through the matchup. Like, okay, it's like, what does it look like? Well, they have to shoot well from 3. Paolo has to go off. They have to offensive rebound. And they kind of did those things. And this was going to be the game plan. And this has been the way that the Missoula and the Celtics play defense. It's like, okay, Luka, okay, Brunson, okay, whoever, we're not going to overhelp. We're going to trust everybody to handle you on an island, even Peyton Pritchard. And if you can beat us by going over the top on 2-pointers, then it is what it is, or on pull-up threes. Like, it is what it is. But they combined Paolo and Franz for 51 shots. And
I think Franz was only like 10 of 24 or something.
10 of 24.
It was really just Paolo, but he killed you on 2s. And like, you can live with tough isolation scoring from those 2. Like you said, the only way that they were going to get in trouble is if they made a lot of 3s, they had a lot of second chance points, offensive rebounds, and if they turned you over. Well, the Celtics didn't really turn the ball over, and the ones that they did, it's not like the Magic were turning all of those into points. So, like, I would give, like, this was like a C+ effort, right, from the Celtics, whereas the Magic, I think if you told them, hey, you'll have Paolo go for 35 on efficient splits, you'll shoot 37% from 3 as a team, like, those are with probably 20 offensive rebounds. Like, those are things they would probably take in their formula to beat you. And in the second half, they weren't even close. So it just shows you, like, when the Celtics stop missing every shot they take, when they get stops, when they get out in transition, like, I imagine the fast break point difference was an absolute bloodbath because they were just able to get out in transition. And if you're not going to let the Magic set their defense, that's probably going to work in your favor over the span of 4 quarters.
I thought the Celtics did a really good job of running in this game. It didn't really, the dam didn't really break until the third quarter.
So late third quarter. Yeah, third quarter.
And I got to give credit to everybody who played good defense tonight, I thought. But Drew Holiday, I thought in that third quarter, it's like, it's the same thing with Al Horford, but man, Drew Holiday, Not a single game do we have to wait. And he just
No,
like,
and this is, I think, what
oh,
we were all hoping, that he was saving some regular season stuff in the tank for something like this. And it wasn't just the shot making. They even called him for, he had an Indiana Pacers steal,
yeah,
and they called him for the foul. I think Jalen lost his shit over that. So like his production could have looked even better with, you know, a more even whistle. But I thought he and Derek White obviously were the story, but Drew's defense, especially just giving that ball pressure and not letting the Magic, you know, have easy offensive possessions for a team that already struggles offensively. You're just increasing the chance that they're going to have an end of the shot, you know, shot clock, low percentage, isolation possession, and you live with the results as long as you just gang rebound and don't
rebound.
for second chance points.
Yeah, Drew got screwed on that one call, but there was another play which was similar. He didn't get a clean strip, but he picked up Franz at like half court and he cuts him off. It almost looked like the Nemhard steal, honestly.
That's what I mean. Like it's like he's moving like in the same motion.
It's so impressive. It's his version of the Marcus Smart Cobra strike. It's like he gets in position, he doesn't just take the bump, he like takes the bump but pushes the defender, the offensive player back while also getting his hand in, jars it loose, gets the ball, and then hits a pull-up three on the other end, and then we get the Dr. Evil celebration.
Can I be honest? I mean, his two you want to say like it reminds, I mean, those were Marcus Smart threes, right? It's like those were the ones that we've been, you know, accustomed to. It's just that's the confidence, especially at that time where their 3-point volume was really low and they had to find ways to get clean looks. It did not surprise me that you saw Pritchard transition threes, Drew with a couple. You know, I just think those are the moments where, you know, the Magic defense is so good and has such good length and they're selling out to take away. I mean, KP only had 2 threes in this game. You know, Jalen only had 2 or 3. So I think those transition open looks, you're going to see them let that fly with zero hesitation because it's like the best quality shot that they can get, even though for the majority of viewers watching this game, they're probably like, why the hell are you shooting this 3? There's nobody under the basket. Like you have numbers. But for this team, it's like, no, that's how they need to play to make sure that they keep the math on their side.
And it's an interesting contrast because like the Celtics are so well trained. And look, part of this is personnel. Peyton Pritchard can shoot from the logo. Derek White has become a ridiculous shooter. But like they know coming into this series that points are going to be hard to come by. Specifically, 3-point attempts are going to be hard to come by. And I think that the game plan was there, but early in the game, in that first half, and especially that first quarter, they just couldn't rebound. So they weren't able to get out in transition and execute it. The Magic had 8 offensive rebounds in that first quarter alone. But then in the second half, they cleaned it up. Like in the second half, the Magic had 3 offensive rebounds to the Celtics 4, and the Celtics got up 21 3-point attempts. Like that, if you're able to get
had probably what 14 or 15 in the first half.
Yeah, so in the first half they were because the Magic only had 9 3-point attempts in the second half. And they had 16, and the Celtics had 16 3-point attempts in the first half. I think a lot of that is rebounding, but also that's what the Magic do, right? That's why the playoffs are fun. It's like you're so locked in on the matchups. Teams have time to game plan, and you can just see the contrast in styles, like battling against each other. The Magic are taking away the 3-point line, so the Celtics are hyper focused on generating them in other spots, like in transition. And like the Celtics are one of the slowest playing teams in the league, but tonight you could see the focus on trying to get out in transition and hunt those shots in those spots.
And they needed to because they were pretty poor in the paint and at the rim. So it's like the Magic were great at limiting those threes in the first half, and then the Celtics didn't make them pay for it because nobody could make a paint shot to save their lives. I think I had tweeted it out in that first half. It was like the Jays were 4 of 14 in the paint in the rim, like just things that are not, a normal expected, production level. So to see them adjust back and find ways to get, because the 3-point volume, it's more than just, the math equation. It's now defenses have to think about it, and suddenly the rim is wide open. Jalen had a great fake 3, drive, 2-handed dunk. Tatum had the right-handed layup late in the third quarter to push the lead, I think, to 15. Those are all come, as a result of opposing teams being nervous for you to pull the trigger on any sliver of look that you have from three. So that's why their collective volume is so important.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Magic know that they cannot let the Celtics shoot a lot of threes, because as soon as that starts happening, the avalanche begins. And then once the avalanche does begin, then they're overreacting. And it's over because you know in your head we can't let it happen. So you over try. Right. And the Celtics are just too good at reading the closeout spot up situations. And then
like Derek White only needs a sliver. You give him any type of screen, and it's like they can schematically come up with ways to generate those looks, even in the half court, depending on the player, where there's really, like, we didn't even really get a Hauser. I mean, he only took one shot, right? So we didn't even really see, and this is where the adjustments will come. The Magic will try some things. Joe will have to counter it. Who's going to be able to force the other into playing their preferred style? It felt like the Celtics were able to dominate that style matchup to where they made the Magic, beat them with twos in the second half, while flipping the 3-point volume equation. They blew them out, probably were plus 20 or something like that in the second half. And that was it. And I think that's going to be the formula for the rest of the series. These games, I feel like, will all follow a very similar script.
Yeah. Like, unless the Magic are really able to change their style, it's just hard to see it. Like, the Magic shot 53% of their shots were mid-range jumpers.
Can't do it.
99th percentile, and the Celtics held them to 5th percentile rim attempts and 16th percentile 3-point attempts. It doesn't work.
And if you're just better on the defensive glass, it looks even better for you, right? Yeah. Like, how many times did we see a drive get thrown off, miss the layup short, ball gets tapped around, second chance opportunity. So the fact that, you're not going to beat this team now 4 out of 6 times, there's 6 games left, 4 out of 6 taking, primarily mid-range jumpers, you're feeding into how the Celtics want you to, to play. And if this team gets killed by mid-range, like, so be it. But there's enough sample of how these two teams operate to where the Magic are going to need to live in like the 15 to 18 3-point made range. And I just don't think they have the volume to do that.
No. And like, I thought that the Magic hit some tough ones too. Like,
early,
of the threes that Paolo, Franz, and KCP hit like a prayer over a Derek White. Paolo hit some late shot clock pull up 3 stuff. I think defensively, I thought the game was really good outside of the offensive rebounding they gave up in the first quarter. But like the third quarter defense, collectively, Horford was getting in on everybody was getting hands in passing lanes. How's it getting back and getting a block on Caleb Houston, leading to another transition opportunity. I thought that defensively they were really good, and obviously Orlando plays into your hands a little bit there, but even Pritchard. So we talked about Derek White a little bit here, who was fantastic,
sensational.
But Peyton Pritchard was someone that I was a little bit worried about coming into the series with the size. He didn't play well in any of the Magic games this series, this season, and he was from the second he stepped on the court, he was good to go.
It was one of those, okay, if the Jays are going to be, a level below their standard, if KP is going to no-show, the role requires Peyton Pritchard to come in and dominate and with his shot making, because that, I feel like those early makes are what allowed everyone to sort of exhale a little bit and take a deep breath and be like, all right, at the very least, we know we have Peyton Pritchard locked in where we can just play through him. But I think Joe touched on it after the game, and you have to agree that his defensive impact was just as important, because that's what keeps him on the floor against bigger teams. You have the spacing, you have the shot making, which in this game was very much needed and is an important, for him, just because he hadn't shown that against, good defenses. But the fact that he could still survive defensively tells you this can be a series he can play in. Whereas on the flip side, Cole Anthony wasn't even really a factor on either end. He didn't really play. He didn't really make anything. So I wonder if that's a game 2 adjustment just for some sort of offensive spark, because you just saw what that can be with a guy like Pritchard. And they're like, he's like the
You need
Walmart
that.
brand of Peyton Pritchard in terms of what he can do off the bench.
Yeah, and this defensive development of Pritchard is huge, obviously, because like you think about the Celtics on paper, it's like, okay, finally there's someone on the court
Mhm.
that Paolo can back down or Franz
Right.
can back down. And there was a little bit of that, obviously, but they hit shots, in the post against everybody in the Celtics from two. But Pritchard, they either try and fight to keep him out of the switch a little bit, or under 10 seconds on the shot clock, multiple possessions, he forced
Tatum.
Paolo
Yeah.
tough shots.
Yeah.
Like,
And he had the big offense. He had a couple big offensive rebounds.
dude,
So I just think for him, this was like, if you could picture the ideal Peyton Pritchard playoff, performance, alliteration be damned, like that is basically what we got, right? Like he came in right away, made a couple threes. He didn't turn the ball over. He got into the paint and found shooters. He hit the offensive glass. Like this was literally confirmation of, I think, his, soon to be Sixth Man of the Year award, because he changed the whole momentum of the game, when he came in on those, because those were non-Tatum minutes too, remember? Yeah. Like they ended up finishing pretty shitty in the second quarter, but that initial push with the non-Tatum minutes in that early second was all Peyton Pritchard. And I think that can only give him confidence moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was 5 Ps there. The perfect playoff performance from Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
That's the 5 Ps.
That was off the dome.
Yeah, bro. Hey, dropping bars here on First of the Floor at Late Night, brought to you by CLNS, Prize Picks, and Game Time. But yeah, man, this is because like the bench, I really like this 9-man rotation that the Celtics have going for them now. And I was expecting more Luke, and I was expecting more Hauser potentially. But of the bench guys, obviously you have Horford play 25 plus minutes.
But that's a great number for him too. Under 30 in
number.
a playoff game, like perfect. I thought his legs looked juiced. He wasn't really short on anything, minus that, vintage. I love when Al like posts up like that. Like it's never going in.
No.
This is
not against Paolo.
No,
I was like, maybe against Cole Anthony, we can.
Yeah.
But
that was a bit of a disaster. But I thought he was so active defensively. Yeah. He was physical in the right spot. And again, 25 minutes. You said, like, I can't think of a more ideal, rotation for him, because there are times where this team can sort of look like Al Horford merchants in a playoff series, where you need to, especially on a night where KP no shows. Like, I was very happy that they didn't, burn his oil so early in the playoffs.
Look, we're definitely Al Horford merchants, but the fact that we didn't have to use too many minutes from him tonight, the minutes you look at it were perfect.
Wow.
Despite Tatum having a disaster shooting game, of course
we've been here before. Who cares?
Yeah, of course he still plays 40 minutes. But so positive wise, we Drew was incredible. Derek, we maybe can get back to him. Pritchard, we just talked about. Tatum, Jalen, and KP combined for 15 for
44.
15 for 44. Honestly, even feel bad putting Jalen in that discussion, because at least he was 6 for 14 and made all of his free throws, right? Like 16 points on 14 shots. Not a disaster.
He's been like an 80% free throw shooter for 4 months now. Like, that's not a nothing, I think him being able to be trusted at the free throw line is a very much welcome development, especially if, his free throw rate's going up, but his 3-point attempt rate is going down in this whatever version of him he is. Him being able to knock down those free throws becomes even more important. So it was good to see him, go 4 for 4, but 6 of 14 is like, meh. It's like, not a disaster, but certainly not to the level I think the best version of himself looks like. But Tatum and KP, you burn the tape, you chalk it up to rust from a week off, and you get ready for Wednesday, I think.
I really hope so. I mean, obviously KP, we don't have a huge sample size of him in last year's playoffs. We have the 2.5 games he played against Miami, and then what he did in the finals. But he struggled in game 1 of last year's playoffs as well.
Was that the thinker, or was it game so then he was good in game 2? Because I remember there was one of them where he was like, I was dog shit, and then he came back and immediately redeemed himself. I can't remember if that was because he got hurt in what, game 4?
Game 3, I believe. Yeah. So game 4. You're right.
Yeah. So I think he
yeah.
sucked in game 2. They lost, and then
Correct.
he came back in Miami in game 3 and was much better.
It's true. He was good in games 1 and 3, and then got hurt in game 4. He played more than I even remembered.
You should cherish those moments.
I mean, dude. But so, there's definitely potentially an adjustment period to playing against the Magic. I thought defensively he did a good job protecting the rim.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a big part of this matchup too. Can you stay in drop coverage on a few of those matchups? And just like same thing again. KP's protecting the rim. You're either forcing them to go over the top, or again, they got to take those mid-range jump shots. So as long as he's doing that, obviously you want him to not be 1 for 8.
It didn't feel like he was aggressive. It felt like he struggled with the ball in traffic. It just never felt like they didn't really run any high screen and pops for him. He had that 1-3. I think it was in the third quarter that I thought was kind of his attempt to go for like the knockout blow, but nothing with him in the post. I feel like when they did post, they trapped him and he kept bringing the ball low.
Yeah.
And a team like Orlando is going to be reaching and slapping and poking. Like that's just how they play. So he has to be much better with keeping the ball high, especially in traffic. And just remember, bro, you're 7'3", just dunk it over somebody. I don't want to say he played soft. I just don't feel like he played with force, like it wasn't he was reactionary as opposed to imposing, which is an easy adjustment, I think, for him to make.
Yeah. He wasn't earning his points with meat tonight. I think
right. No meat was had tonight. No.
Yeah. No meat was earned tonight from Kristaps Porzingis. I thought that when the Magic did a really good job, I thought, of pre-switching. Like the Magic were switching everything, but then when the Celtics were hunting one of the smaller dudes, when that matchup would eventuate, then the Magic would switch that defender out really quickly. So the next thing you know, it was KP matched up on France, or KP matched up on Wendell Carter, or whatever it was. He didn't get any clean post-ups on smaller defenders. So I think that's going to be an adjustment.
I need him to win a post-up battle against Franz Wagner. Like, that's something that, in terms of like our baseline expectation, outside of like maybe Wendell Carter because he's kind of big, and Jonathan Isaac, who's got a freakish wingspan, like there isn't, and maybe Paolo's like 6'10", yeah. But like Franz, I think he's only 6'9", and those are matchups you have to win, or you have to make the defense be in rotation as a result of your post up and swing the ball. I think what we got today was kind of soft offensive post ups with turnovers, and that's the worst side of that offensive approach.
And I think because he was struggling a little bit finding his range, and I do like when he does this sometimes, but he'll duck in and he'll get deep position and then go from there. But I thought his timing was off today, where like Tatum or Jalen were driving, and then next thing you know, KP was ducked in and the lane was clogged. It's like so much of your value is the fact that you can space the floor to 29 feet. So just do that a little bit. So I thought that, and I think that's a little bit of rust and adjusting to an opponent that's playing defense to the Magic. I think there's going to be a lot to take from the offensive side of things when they look at the film. So it's like, if the post ups aren't happening, let Tatum, let Jalen break down the defense. And if they're not going to help, then they can finish at the rim, but don't put extra bodies at the rim where the Magic have all these 6'9" plus guys that can help bother Tatum and Jalen at the rim. I thought Tatum and Jalen missed some shots they could make, but I thought KP may have made it more difficult at times as well.
It's just weird because it feels like, the high KP screen and pop or screen and roll is such a valuable weapon. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't.
Well, when they're switching, it's hard for them to get to that. But again, instead of him switching and going straight to the post, if you're not getting the right matchup, just switch it, space, and then let Tatum go to work. But again, first game, I was kind of feeling confident about Tatum in this matchup. Weird game. So only Jason Tatum can go 8 for 22, 1 for 8 from 3, 0 for 4 from the free throw line, and still be a team high plus 23. It's kind of just what
He
he
does
does.
everything else. 14 boards,
Yeah.
handful of assists, some good defense. But I don't know. I'm just like, I watched him win a title playing this exact way. So it's like hard for me to even get remotely worked up about, his shooting. I just don't care. They won. Like, would I prefer he shot better? Yes. Were there some that just weren't even close and you're like kind of like grossed out? Yes. But like, when it came time to come through, he made the buckets he needed to make. When it came time to impacting the game in other ways, awesome. Like sometimes you're just not going to, make your shots. You're not going to make your clean looks. I think, credit the Magic. They defended him well as you can, in terms of just contesting without fouling. But I don't know. I just post title and seeing the run that he had, it's just hard for me to like give a shit. Had they lost this game, okay, it's a different discussion, but they didn't. They won it. So, you take it on the chin and you feel confident that, he'll be able to bounce back from it. This isn't the first inefficient game Jason Tatum has ever had in his playoff career. It's just annoying because it's like we all want to push agendas on the internet and it makes it tougher when you can't make a jump shot. But they still won. So at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah, posting the 17 points on, I think, 35% true shooting today is a little bit tricky. But, the flip side is that the Memphis Grizzlies got blown out by the Thunder and Shea couldn't hit a shot either, and they won by 50. So
it's just like, again, we're at the time, like that matters in, January, in December, when you're trying to push narratives. This time of year, it's did you win the game? Did you lose the game? You won it. Awesome. Turn the page. What can you be better at in game 2? And you move from there. But I don't know. It's like, is anyone surprised that in a weird afternoon game, the Celtics didn't have the most efficient shooting night? Like, I've been seeing this exact performance my entire life. So it's like, did you win the game? Yes. I'm happy.
Yes. Winning the game by 17 points and being a team high plus 23 is the most important thing. Yep. It does give me this like, can we just be closer to normal? I don't need you to be 60%, 61% true shooting. Can we just like some of the missed layups, some of like what, two air balls, and 4
missed free throws, like that, make your free throws, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a wide gap between like the scoring efficiency today and like the numbers that I think are necessary for us to win the title, like 55, 56% true shooting. I'm fine with that. It's not going to matter as much against the Magic. And hopefully it was a weird game. The wrist injury, firstly, did you think that it was dirty from the Magic?
No.
I was surprised they called it a flagrant.
I mean, I think in real time, I didn't even realize that KCP sort of grabbed. So like the grabbing motion in air is like, I guess you could understand why that would be a flagrant. But for me, I looked at that as just like a hard playoff foul. And then I don't know, but let me ask you this. Do you feel like Tatum's recent reaction to his injuries have been like, I know that he's an Iron Man, but just like the way that he fell today, I think his legs had it just felt like I thought he broke his wrist, given just like how he like kicked his legs a little bit. And then, you're fine. Eventually he made a 3, whatever, but I'm also nervous about Derek White's grabbing his thumb.
Yeah, that was
grabbing his knee, when Cole Anthony extended his leg going over a screen. So it's like these little nicks are why, repeating is so hard because you're one play away. But I just think, ice it, rehab it these next 2 days. I'm going to be terrified anytime I see a Shams notification that it's going to be some sort of X-ray update. But from everything I saw after the game, it's like things came back clean and he'll be fine. And we just, you have to hope maybe we have a rookie of the year situation where this fall now snaps his shooting into rhythm, and he becomes like a 45% 3-point shooter.
That'd be great.
Something like rookie of the year.
Well, I think he may have been 1 for 2 or 1 for 3 from 3 since the wrist. Like he definitely.
See? I'm into that.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
So since the wrist injury,
One
Yeah.
airball, but
that was such a hard shot. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't make it easy on himself either. He made like the 3 and a layup, and then he's in the left wing, which is his favorite spot. I understand, but it's like 2 seconds on the shot clock, and he puts. And to be fair, like that's a good shot, like a good spot to take that when you're bleeding a lead. Like
the second he
clock,
jabbed and didn't go baseline, I'm like, all right, he's taking this one. He's taking this 3.
It's fine because like you set your defense, get back, use the clock when you're bleeding a lead. That's fine. But like that shot was not going to go in. That's just not going to happen. But 3 for 7 in the fourth quarter. So I'm looking because I know Bobby Manning was like waiting for Tatum to come out of the locker room. So Tatum on his wrist just fell on it, landed on it, said he's feeling all right, was throbbing for a second, kind of went away, and he said the X-ray was clean. So
good enough for me.
And Tatum on the physicality tonight said it was fun. All right, we'll take it.
If you want to give me a built-in excuse for his inefficiency, I'll take it. But having said that, I generally don't think he played. It's another one of those. He didn't play poorly. He shot poorly, and I can live with those at this stage against this opponent, given the margin of error you have with their limited offensive ceiling. As you hopefully move on and play more potent offenses, I'll buy it. Maybe a little bit easier defenses to get you in rhythm. But, game 1 of the first round against a team that struggles to score 90, I'm willing to give you and Jalen a pass on, your limited offensive output, KP as well. But, you can't make a habit of it, going forward. Same thing. Offensive rebounds, they only gave up a handful of second chance points in the first half. So all those offensive rebounds didn't really burn them. Yeah. But it's still something you can't have that in winning basketball, which obviously we saw in the second half.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things. It's like you can learn the lesson and adjust without actually having to lose the game. It's like, okay, yeah, we gave up 8 offensive rebounds. Thankfully, the basketball gods didn't punish us for those specific offensive rebounds. I think part of that is because the Orlando Magic offense have a tough time punishing anybody for anything on the offensive end.
Yeah, but you think that they would be like more ready, like it's not a rocket science to say, hey, the Magic can't shoot for shit. Maybe we should have a collective effort on the glass. And it's
sure.
Right away. And as a fan, you're watching it, you're like, well, I know what the 3 pillars of playoff pain are. I know this team,
pillars of playoff pain.
It's like Paolo had a couple of those threes and then all the offensive rebounds. You're like, this is game 2 against Miami. Like I've seen this formula, but thankfully, they snapped out of it. But those are the parts where it's like, you play great defense against a bad offense. The worst thing you can do is give them second, third chance opportunities. Maybe you have a foul. Maybe you give them a momentum 3. It's like just gang rebound and end the possession and get out on the break.
Yeah, and like Tatum, he started last year's playoffs kind of slow as well. Like if you remember, in that Heat series, he was a bit. I feel like game 3 against the Cavs is when things really kind of took off for him. Game 3 against the Cavs, he was like 33 points on 25 shots. Got to the line 9 times. Like I think it'd be nice to he looked a little bit unsettled, I thought, in the game, but something that I thought that he did really well at, because I talked about the Magic pre-switching out of the KP post-ups. When they were doing that, I thought Tatum was like firing passes to the corners on the defenders that they were switching in for. And that was actually generating like quick catch and shoot stuff. And like, that's so much more valuable than his individual scoring. It's like when you can't generate 3-point shots in the half court and they're taking away the other source of your efficient offense in KP post-ups on smaller players, it's like, well, what's the last bit? Well, they're giving you a half second. You fire those passes to the corner. Al hit one, Derek hit a couple, and it's like, and that loosens up the defense, and then it goes back into that domino effect. So, not gonna be worried yet. Like he was on probably the main reason why the offensive rebound stopped happening as well. Like he completely cleaned the defensive glass for the team. So defensively, I thought he was good as well. Like. I mean, can't be too upset.
You can't be too mad. No, you take winning, playing like shit still counts. And I think that, is what you always have to remind yourself of is no playoff game is going to be perfect, especially the first one, especially with a week off. against a good defense, right? Like the formula for how this game unfolded, I feel like was pretty predictable to where, we've seen the Celtics have their lulls. We've seen them let teams crawl back in, through, losing habits of poor rebounding, some prayer, unsustainable 3-point shooting, but their ability to not overreact, to correct course, and just get back to playing the way that they need to defensively. I don't think it's any surprise that once they started to lock in defensively, clean the glass with Tatum, cause turnovers with, Drew and Horford in the passing lanes, their offense looked a whole lot better. And I think those things are always going to be connected. And in this series, more than not, you're not going to get into a lot of shootout. It's going to be more rock fights than shootouts, I think, in this series. You won the first rock fight. Hopefully in game 2, just bludgeon them with some early 3-point barrages and get that early separation, and we won't have the stress. But I do think it's important to have these types of games and these types of reps, because it's all going to matter when you start getting into deeper rounds and the leverage and the pressure starts to mount. Because what do we always say? Can the Celtics win games when they don't shoot well or when they, don't play their best? Well, here they are again with another example of doing just that.
Yeah. And look, winning in the playoffs, you take 1-0. And right. I think coming into the series, I knew that it's going to look ugly, but it's like these runs are going to happen. It's basketball. Like I kind of forgot what the playoff stress was like. I was pretty calm. True. I was like, when I contrast how I was feeling before game 1 this season compared to how I was feeling before game 1 of the Heat series, I was like 10 times more calm. But as soon as the Magic go on that run in the second quarter, it out the window. Out the window immediately.
They did it in the exact same way that I'm sure you had PSD from the Miami series. It was threes, turnovers, poor, defensive reboundings. And I think those are always going to show up in a playoff game. Like you said, it's a game of runs. But I do think what we saw today was the confidence of a post-championship team, right? They didn't panic. They didn't let that, 1-point lead out of the half start the third quarter. Now they're down 8 or now they're down 7. They came out right away, went on like an 8-2 run to open the quarter and change the momentum. So even though they played poorly in the first half, I feel much better about this team's ability to stop the bleeding and sort of switch the momentum than because they have the, there wasn't oh, woe is us. Here it's happening again. Oh my God, we're choking at home again. Like they didn't panic. They responded. And I think that's the type of confidence that comes only with them getting over the hump and winning the title.
Well, they're now 5-0 in their last 5 game 1s at home.
Okay. Game 2s have always been the problem child, though. That's the real test.
Game 2s are hard, but the thing is, they're so good on the road. As long as you split at home, you're good to go.
Yeah, but I prefer the win both at home and really put the pressure on.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That's how I would approach it.
Sure. I would also like to go up 2-0. Even on that third quarter run, it's like, the barrage, if there's going to be one quarter where they get loose, I do kind of like it happening in the third quarter. Would I prefer it to happen in the first quarter? Maybe, because then that opens up the possibility to have another one in the second, third, or fourth quarters. But playing them even and then you smack them, Golden State Warriors.
I was just gonna say that's the formula that it reminds you of. They had just like that third quarter bukkake where like you can't it's coming and you can't stop it. Is how I felt.
Well, it's coming from too many different angles.
It's coming everywhere. Your eyes are all fucked up. Like it's just part of what made their dynasty so tough. I think for me, it's that third quarter, but it's also, this was arguably one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the NBA this season. Like people don't talk about how bad the Celtics have been in the fourth quarter. So for the fact that, they were able to not, let go of the rope and give the game right back in the fourth was also good to see at home.
Yeah, it's a Sam Hauser review contest. Next thing you know, it's an Al Horford transition 3 or a Peyton Pritchard pull up 3, and you're questioning your existence here. But yeah, I think we take it. Game 1, 2 days off, ice up, man. Pace yourself, everybody.
It's going to look the exact same in game 2. It's going to be a tough game. I just think this was the perfect game one was like the perfect synopsis of what we all thought this series was going to look like. I just am relieved that it unfolded the way that it should have, right? Like, you can't lose to a team that can't score 90 points. Like, you
Can't
just
do it.
Like, I don't live by a lot of rules in my life, but that is one of them. Like, you need to beat playoff teams that cannot break 90 points. That's just, you should have 90 points in 3 quarters, let alone, 4. So,
yeah, the race to 95 feels like if Orlando can get to 95, maybe they might have a chance to win a game. But for now, I love when we break down the matchups, we come in and it kind of plays out exactly the way that we expected because it feels very replicable for the remainder of the series. Greeny, I guess the only other thing is how much did you enjoy the Lakers getting the shit?
Oh, that might have been better than win. I'm like, yes. I'm like, finally, a team is trying to, provide defensive resistance with Austin Reeves and Luka. And it's just, I don't know. I think people maybe underestimated the Wolves a little bit. Everyone was maybe a little drunk on the, the Lakers hype, but elite shot making, maybe their 20 of 41 isn't sustainable, but their volume is. And, it's not like Reeves and Luka are going to turn into plus defenders. So this is game 2 for them is basically a must win, or it could be a short.
I love it.
Which is what I think we're all hoping for. Like,
I love
it. It would be to see, Steph bury them. I'll take a first round loss for the Lakers, 10 times out of 10.
As long as they're buried, I think that's all anyone cares about. I was wondering, like, who do you think of the 4 fan bases that lost yesterday, who would like feel the worst trying to go to sleep? Because obviously the playoff losses that you experience when it feels like you had them are the most painful, like 2022 Golden State Warriors. Like, we've got a list of our own, and those feel the worst. But if you're the Lakers and you're Lakers fans, you had so much confidence. You've been like drowning in your own Kool-Aid for months now. And then the Wolves come out and smack you. And now game 2 is a must win. Like, that level of dread that you feel when you're supposed to win playoff games is very, very special pain.
Now, having said that, though, couldn't you also make the case that, the Pistons are 9 minutes away from the massive upset and then completely, like, I know it's their first time through and all
that was brutal.
Like, as a fan, I'd be watching like that 21-0 run would keep me up until about 4:30 in the morning, just replaying that. So I'm with you. Like, Lakers are for sure giving the expectation, but at the same time, like, up 8 with 7-8 minutes to go on the road to steal game 1, like, you just have to close that out. That was the game. Basketball. So
So I think there were 3 good choices between the Lakers, Clippers, and Pistons because I thought that the Clippers let that one slip as well. Like, obviously it goes to overtime and they kind of like fell apart in the second half. It's like there were 3 good choices, but I was like, the Lakers fans, just because of how much confidence I thought that they would have had in their own minds coming into that game to like get a rude awakening about like, oh shit, we're supposed to be the second best team in the West.
And I think it's the reality of like, all the dogging we did on Luka's defense when he was a Mav. Now it's our problem. Like, it's way less fun being on this. It's like, it's like, welcome to, the reality of Luka. If he's not, super, super efficient, he's going to be attacked defensively, and his offensive scoring is a wash because he's just giving it right back on the defensive end. And that is not something that gets better the longer a series go. But, I think we're all hoping that this is maybe a quick gentleman's sweep and, we can have a Ant versus Steph, battle in the second round. That'll be just fun.
Beautiful. Yeah. And like, it's almost like the inverse of the Celtics game where it's like the Celtics won by 17 despite Tatum going 8 for 22 and the Lakers lose by 20 plus and Luka has 37 points on 22 shots. It's like, oh, well, that he's probably not going to get more efficient.
Oh, shucks.
Like, you certainly hate to see it. Greeny, I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the near future. Let's hope that it's not about splitting home court. It's about defending home court in game 2. All you got to do is just win game 2 now.
Listen, you win game 2, you've basically won game 3 because they'll be so nervous. And then once you win game 3, NBA history says it's over. So again, we're off on the right foot. I just think, I would just like a little bit more of a stress-free game 2. But at the end of the day, like, just win it. Joe Mazzulla, 17 out of 20 in his last 20 games. He's figuring it out. It's just, for a title defense, it's always better to start off 1-0, obviously, than 0-1. So,
one thing we didn't mention, Jalen's knee. I thought he looked pretty
good
good.
thing we didn't have to. I thought he looked fine.
Yeah,
I thought he looked fine.
good. I didn't think it was a problem. Only played 30 minutes. He didn't come back in the fourth quarter, which I thought was maybe weird, but they were kind of up by like 20. So I think it's hard to read into.
You don't need it. You don't need, and that's, again, good on Mazzulla for being aware of that. I think he was going to come in and then he pulled him out. I thought he was explosive when he had to be. We didn't really see him take
that dunk.
We didn't see too many threes, but his free throws look good. He had like a contested mid-range. It was just his rim finishing wasn't great, but nobody's was. That was, I feel like, more rust.
Well,
like that's a rust issue than he's getting no lift on his knee issue. So I imagine if he responds well, he'll be better in game 2. But this version, he didn't turn the ball over. Tatum didn't either. So like your two best players maybe didn't shoot the best, but they took care of the ball and did everything else. Good enough for me.
We'll take it. Greeny, game 1 in the books, 15 to go. Till next time.
All right, man.
The Celtics.